Hi everybody, today I will have another interview with Patrick Moulin, and for the ones who have missed our first two interviews, you can find them on my YouTube channel Blue Lotus. And in this third interview with Patrick, we will cover any add-on modules that came to light based on the experiences of the practitioners, but also of our clients. And before I start, I will introduce myself and Patrick. My name is Cindy, and I am an energetic stepping and wholeness counselor. I work with spirit to guide, counsel, advise my clients, and I also work with a couple of famous celebrities such as Marilyn, Ava Gardner, Judy Garland, but also recently I started to channel goddesses like Goddess Isis and Goddess Pele. And I use my YouTube channel to leave their messages behind. And besides working with spirit, I also do energetic work. And this is where I know Patrick from. I took a course with him. It is called Sacred Crystal Sound Treatment. And I will give you more background now about Patrick. So Patrick Moulin is the author of The Little Book of Oneness, which is available on Amazon. And besides being a writer, he also gives private consultations, which he calls Akashic readings. Patrick gives these private readings in person or over the internet, but also to open groups. He travels between Central America and Switzerland to give workshops, Dolores Cannon quantum healing hypnosis sessions, individual energy sessions, and since this year, he also began to train people in the amazing Sacred Crystal Sound method. Hi Patrick, it's nice to have you back on my channel. How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you. Thank you very much for hosting me. And we can go through more information regarding this method, Sacred Crystal Sound Treatment or method. The experiences that came in, that practitioners reported, were simply amazing, and based on their feedback and also their questions, additional perspectives on Sacred Crystal Sound started to emerge, started to come up, things I didn't think of it before, such as special applications of this method. And this is the topic of today that we will look at. And this is going to be very interesting to clients, so they know there are different applications, additional applications to what we discussed already, and also to practitioners, so they see, oh yes, more methods or add-on to what they have learned has come up. So let's see where we go from here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the first add-on module that actually came to the surface was working together with other practitioners, like working with maybe with 2 or 4 people on one client. Can you tell us a little bit more about this royal treatment that we can give?
Yes, this is something I'm going to offer in this first quarter of 2019. This is just an add-on module of 2 lessons for the practitioners. So it's not fundamentally something new. It's just an extension to what they have learned already. But it will enable them to combine the methods with some other person, 1 person more, 2 person more, up to 4 practitioners who can treat a single client. Now, I was seeing that this is like a plus treatment or a royal treatment. Why is that? Because there is some additional dynamism happening between the practitioners that you will not experience as a practitioner when you treat alone. Naturally so, because you treat alone. And the treatment itself is just a little bit longer because you have more stones, you have more sounds, and there's definitely more interaction going on to work with the client, and the treatment naturally is a little bit longer. And for that reason, we can consider this, it's like a plus treatment in comparison to, let's say, an individual practitioner treats one person alone. So this is taught again on an individualized level, which means no person has the same method really.
Yeah.
So how do you combine them? That needs to be taken into consideration, like how many stones are there, what are the sounds, in order to blend these two methods into one coherent method, so they combine their energies to treat the person. And therefore, the format is such, when a practitioner knows some other practitioner and they say, hey, let's team up and offer from time to time this kind of royal treatments or the plus treatments, be it in spas or be it in their private place or be it in a center they maintain, wherever this is, they then contact me and then they get this method. It's just two additional lessons. First is the instruction. They practice with several call it guinea pigs.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get back together to fine tune and answer questions, go through the experiences. But that's the way it goes. So what we do in that first lesson where the method comes up is we look at the individual methods of the practitioners. This could be two practitioners team up together wanting to offer this method, or 3 or up to 4. And once that is known what they do, then in real time I see what is the synthesis of this. And this is given out to them and it's being recorded for them, and so they have that. And then they practice and then they offer it to the public. So this is how it works. I do not know in advance the details of the method. I only see that when the practitioners come together, because then they bring in their method they have learned, and then from there we take it, and then they are offered their combined individualized method, you could say. That's how it works. It's awesome. It's totally awesome when somebody's on a massage table and then gets this treatment with more than one practitioner. It's just it's quite astonishing. Let's put it that way.
Mm-mm. That's nice, because I'm teaming up with my sister and we have treated a couple of people together, and for us it is, a lot of fun, but it is also that we are very close to each other, we know each other, and then working together in such a way and actually treat one person is a beautiful thing. So my question is also, like, because I know my sister and we are quite close, can we just pick somebody else as a practitioner that with whom we can work, or with whom we want to work with? Or is there something like that we have to have somewhere like a resonance?
The criteria of working together with another practitioner is simply the desire. So inside the desire is also the liking to work with another practitioner. There is already a resonance happening. So that's all. It's very simple. It's all is needed. If 2 practitioners come and say, hey, we should do this together, this is fun, this is really special, and this and that, and this, yeah, why not? Why don't we do this and offer that once every, whatever rhythm they choose. This could be once a month, could be once every 2 months, once every 2 weeks, whatever they like. And if they offer this, so it's determined by the desire. Once that is set, then then once the lesson starts, then we look at the individual methods that they received already, and then the combined method emerges, and we teach that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you. So now we also found out through one of the participants that we can actually have sessions with animals. Can you describe a little bit more like how that will work when it comes to working with animals?
Yes. I was giving this method to somebody who was in the practitioner course. Mm-hmm. And it just came in because that person is by profession dealing with animals as well. And she did express the desire that this would be nice to have for her interaction with her animals. Actually, she's a dog trainer, professional dog trainer, many years of experience, but has also other activities that she's maintaining. But as a dog trainer, she knows how dogs behave. What she's trained in this, so she wanted to learn this method so she can actually help the dogs. And from that was actually the initial point where we even started to think of what about sacred crystal sound treatment for the animal kingdom. And what I say is this: it is also a short course, and I will make this available now to the other practitioners in the first quarter as well, in the first quarter of 2019. And it's again a short course. It's 2 lessons. First lesson is the actual method. Second lesson is the review, fine-tuning, etc., and sharing of exchange of experiences. Now, this one has to say though, this is it has a somewhat experimental character of it. Why is that? Why do I say this? Because there are so many different types of animals.
Yeah.
And you have dogs, cats, horses, ducks, birds. Cows. You have cows, goats, whatever, tigers, and this and that. And this is, at this stage, what is coming is a generic, in a sense, it's a generic type of treatment that takes into consideration any kind of species. Could be also an elephant. But we need to see down the road how, if there are any patterns emerging for certain types of animals. So this is, I say it's not set in completely. It's not set full in stone. This is the final version, but this is definitely a workable version to reach many different types of animals, animal types. So this is what is coming in the first quarter. The initial reaction was amazing. How they just respond to sound, and the energy field that is set up with the stones for the animals. It is somewhat different to when you treat humans, and the difference is the animal needs to have an open space, in the sense it needs to be able to retreat or leave if this is too much, because it's like the coherence field that emerges, that is there, might be simply too much for this physiology of the animal, or simply speaking, maybe they didn't like the sounds, who knows. Mm-hmm. And they need to have the ability to retreat, so that is also taken into consideration. Because it's based on freedom. It's based on freedom. We offer the help through this method to the animal, but it's the animal who decides whether they can take it or not. So that's taken into account when using this modified version for animals. And but the initial report was rather the opposite. They totally relax. They totally relax, and it can be quite emotional for the owners as well, who may see how their animal is reacting to these sounds and the crystals. Mm-hmm. So it's very encouraging, very exciting for those people who want to learn this. It's very good. Mm-hmm. And there are many people out there who do have some concerns about their animals, and they could then try this method for their animal, for their pet, or it could be on a farm, it could be anywhere. But this does not replace veterinary treatment. If there is some physical issues with an animal, yes, they still need to get medical attention. So this is not a replacement, so we should not misunderstand, but there are other aspects that affect the animal. It could be based on earlier traumas. It could be based on all kinds of factors why the animal is now behaving in this or this way. And this treatment can then be of assistance. Mm-hmm. So just to make it clear, this is not a medical treatment. The veterinary, if there is some medical issues, the veterinary still is needed to have a look at the animal. So you can also say, well, then in this case, maybe it's a complementary aspect that this treatment offers, sacred crystal sound. Yes, you could say it in this way as well. Does that make sense?
Yes, makes sense. Thank you. And before I go to the next question, I actually wonder now that can we as practitioners team up and then we give like a royal treatment to animals? For example, a dog is much smaller than an elephant. You already knew that I was going to ask.
I didn't think of it, but now that you ask, yes, why not? But the method needs to be modified, so I have to see how to synthesize this. Maybe it's an extra module, just additional instruction, because if several practitioners team together and you blend those sounds and stones, it needs to be considered how that works for the animals. So we just gave birth to another module in this way. So there you go, 2 lessons for the plus treatment for animals. Mm-hmm. Congratulations, I didn't think of it. It's just a matter of looking into the field, and it's coming in. Mm-mm. And then they get this treatment too.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Do you want to add something?
I was just, it's like a movie sometimes going on. Like the animals, whoever wants to be treated, the duck or a dog, they may think, what are these people doing here? But they may have that impression also with one person.
Yeah.
If one person is there preparing for the treatments, they also wonder, what is this person going to do? So it's the same reaction. Mm-mm. All right, so yes, we'll do that too. Several people can treat animals.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, the next question. You mentioned as well that we can actually balance the energies of a house or an apartment.
Yes.
How will that go? Can we actually do this also? Oh, yeah. I will ask this later.
I know what's coming. well, this came in already, and this method will also be released in the first quarter 2019. It's
Okay.
an add-on module that takes 3 lessons. Why is it 3? Because there are 2 aspects to this method. One is a temporary effect, creating a temporary effect, rebalancing the energies of a house or an apartment or whatever location, or a more lasting effect. There are 2 different methods for this. You could see it like this. Somebody comes and says, I go on a business trip and I don't necessarily feel good in some places. Do you have something that helps me? Then somebody can do this work on a place. And interesting enough, that would be, in fact, the remote treatment of a location. But that's a temporary, that would be a temporary, it creates a temporary effect. It's not something that would last. So if somebody asks, as a second scenario, I live in this apartment or I live in this house, but there's something there. I would like to have that treated or somehow neutralized, or just that I feel a bit better living in there. Then there are already existing methods available on, quote, the market that could address this. Through different means. Like if there are irritation zones underneath a house, like water vein, other things, there are already existing methods that could look at this. So in that sense, it's not really new, but there is also the way to work with crystals and sound to affect a space and make that effect last. And for this, that's separate to a temporary approach. So we have to consider these 2 types of variants in this add-on module. Therefore, we have 3. We have at least 3 lessons for this, perhaps 4, but it tends to be 3.
Okay, thank you. You already answered my question that I want to ask.
Good. I still don't know your question, but if it is answered, it's good.
Yeah, my question was actually, can we do this on distance?
Yeah, the temporary part, yes, not the one part that where it lasts, because you have to leave stones behind. You have to place them, and how do you do that remote? So there's a difference.
Makes sense. Okay. So when we move from a house or apartment to a group of people, how does that work when we are with one practitioner or we are with several practitioners wanting to treat a group of people?
Oh, so you want to ask how to treat several people at the same time, either alone as a practitioner or together with some other practitioners you treat, let's say at the same time 5 or 8 or 10 people like this. Yes, that is something that comes in as well, and that we will make available at the end of the first quarter or early second quarter. It's April, somewhere there. That I will offer it from then onwards. And so the scenario is this, if you, just to give an example so that people can visualize this, if you treat one single person, what do you have, a massage table or a yoga mat? That is also possible, even though we do prefer a massage table. But well, it can equally be done to treat a person laying down on a yoga mat. That's okay too. So for that, you don't need such a big space. It's just one person, and you do your treatment, sacred crystal sound treatment for this person. If you are more than one practitioner, you need a little bit more space, but it's still just one person that you treat. But you need a little bit more space because there are simply 2 practitioners, 3 or 4, up to 4, treating that same person. So a little bit more space would be needed, to more comfortably walk around and place your stones and all of that. But it's not that much more space, so it's still kind of very manageable. Now, let's look at the scenario when you treat several people at the same time. That means you need a bigger space, definitely. Why? You need several massage tables, or if you want, yoga mats. It could be a hall, it could be a larger room. You definitely need more space because there are more people. It's a very practical consideration. So you need to have that before you can actually consider to learn the method. So that's a limitation in the sense of you need the physicality aspect covered. So having said that, some practitioners may have access to halls, bigger rooms, where they can actually offer this treatment to several clients at the same time. This is very fascinating because there are several interactions happening then. One is there's energetic interaction happening between the practitioners as they progress through the method. It's amazing on one hand, that aspect alone. But then there's the other aspect. You have several practitioners being in the room, being treated. Now that's another dynamism happening too, between the practitioners, between the clients, but also, of course, practitioner and clients. So there's a whole lot of interaction going on. And that creates synergies that is different for each group that is being treated.
Okay.
It's clearly different. Why is that? Because it's different people. They bring in different coherence states with them, karmic luggage, or light, whatever you call this. This is just words, but it's just different people. And therefore, the experiences invariably change with each group that is treated. So very fascinating, but you need enough space. And that is an add-on module that we are going to release end of first quarter, early second quarter. Naturally, the practitioner needs to have enough, you could say, enough experience treating a single client, like treating clients on his own or on her own. It needs to be granted already in that type of application. And then the next step, once they have treated enough people, and we say the minimum number required so that a practitioner can apply for this extra module, it should be at least, they should have done at least 30 people, treated 30 people on their own like this. So they are at least have some experience. We recommend 50, but the minimum is really 30. And then once they have that under their belt, they can then move to that extra module where they learn how to treat several people at one time, either alone or with other practitioners. And alone is one method. With several practitioners together, again, there's a new dynamism happening here. That's another method. It's adapted to the practitioners, their stones, their sounds. So as you see, again, it's very highly individualized. So if they learn the method alone for themselves to treat several people, then it is this add-on module takes 2 lessons. One is instruction, one is review. It's not rocket science. It's all fairly simple, but needs to be reviewed. And with all these add-on modules, we always recommend come back. Let's review again after 3 to 6 months. So that is an additional thing, but it's up to the practitioners to do so. But we recommend. Now, if several practitioners want to learn this method to treat several people at the same time, then that's also 2 lessons. First is instruction, second is review. There you go. That you will, if a practitioner learns all these different modules, there's a lot of different methods happening, and they need to keep track on what to do when. And for this, they get a recording, but also they need to have some kind of sheet. That's a summary sheet for each method that they have learned, so they can keep things apart.
Yeah,
that's just plain practical consideration. In terms of length of treatment, it's very similar to an individual person. It takes the same amount of time. So one practitioner treats one client. This is taking from the time side. It's the same as if one practitioner treats several at the same time. So time-wise is the same. Now, in the scenario, you have several practitioners, let's say up to 4, treating several clients at the same time. That takes about the same time as if several practitioners treat just one person. So it's a similar extension. If you treat one or several people, it's not taking you longer like that.
Mm-hmm.
So now, how many people can they treat up to? Is there a limit? That is with this method. What came in is, in principle, there's no limit, but for practical sake, it's stepped. So this means at this stage in time, it's up to 10 at a time.
Yeah.
And then we may see in certain constellations, we may say, okay, why not 50 at a time? But that is something that comes down the road. This is not yet released.
Mm-mm.
There may be some additional considerations if you really deal with bigger numbers, because that's a different thing. You have a sports hall or what?
Yeah.
So many people, do you need speakers or what? Because the one in the back may not hear you in front, or what is going on? So these are aspects that will be sorted out when the time should come for this, that there is a need for this. Then, yeah, then the method would be modified for this. Mm-mm. So at the moment, up to 10.
Mm-mm. Perfect. So the last question is the most interesting for me as well, is the infusion of coherence in the collective consciousness of a town or region.
Yes.
How will that work? Or when do you think that this method will be available for the practitioners?
This depends really on the region. It is very interesting because you see, this is a method that interacts directly with the collective consciousness of a city or a region. Now, you need to have enough practitioners in the region to be able to do this. And the requirement is 10 or more practitioners learn this method. And then they need to commit for at least a full year to really practice this, offer this, like they are of service to collective consciousness. This is not to be played with. This is not gaming. This is something of a deeper commitment. You place yourself to address coherence for a collective. In a way you could say it's a sacred service, even though we should not misconstrue this as religious or anything, but it's significant if you offer that. You deal with energies that is different than dealing with one person or up to 10 like this in a treatment. You deal with a collective of a city or region. These are thousands and thousands of people. These are different layers of energies unfolding there. So first of all, what's the requirement for a practitioner? You need to be grounded. You cannot have without how do you say this? You need to have a stable life, in a sense of you need to be feeling you're in the right place in your life, and you need to feel comfortable, and you need to have the soul calling for this. Naturally, those who are in that space, if they receive that soul calling, yes, that's what they want to offer to their locality, to their region. They want to offer infusion of coherence into the collective consciousness. And that is, I would consider this is sacred work, even though sacred can be misunderstood in many ways. But so 10 is needed in a region. So first of all, 10 would be needed minimum, as a minimum, and not every practitioner may feel that soul calling. So as a tendency, you may have in the region 20, let's say 20 practitioners, but 10 of them might want to have that experience, and they need to additionally commit for a year to offer this method. Now, what does that really mean? It is not a full-time activity, obviously. They come at regular intervals together, and then they do this sacred crystal sound treatment addressing collective consciousness. This could be a city or a region. Mm-hmm. They come regularly together, and for this they need to commit to do this for a year. That they come really regularly together, and at what interval is determined at the time when they receive the method. And so, as you see, there are quite a number of ifs for this method, and therefore we cannot say when this method is being taught, because you need enough practitioners who want to do this. Yeah. But this method exists. It exists, and therefore it could be used to help the collective consciousness. Definitely needed, if you look at the world of today, definitely needed to get more, to have with more coherence. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Coherence means harmony, infusion of harmony into the collective consciousness. It is a very abstract layer that you address. It's not anymore an individual, so it's very abstract, and this is where it goes. This is very old thing. It's a very old thing to even consider it, that you can address collective consciousness in this way.
Is it coming from Atlantis?
And before, but Atlantis, yes. What is interesting with this sacred crystal sound treatment, as now more applications start to come up, I received a request from a practitioner. What about plants? He wants to use it for plants. And yes, he will get that method, but that's just that person. But it may be released later for a generic use for the plant kingdom. What you see with this is, it is said that ancient civilization, meaning really old ones, have had the knowledge of crystals, using it in their society. And sacred crystal sound is, as it now comes out with more and more of these modules, you can start to see how crystals were being used. Yes, in different aspects of society. So it's re-emerging, and that's beautiful. It's beautiful that this thing comes back up again. It seems to be the time for it. It's necessary.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Is there anything else you would like to add or share before we end this interview?
Yeah, then down the road, there is also remote treatment of individuals.
Ah, okay.
Even groups, but it's down the road. That's more on the horizon. First, we stabilize these other modules, and then comes that one. There's already demand for this naturally, but that comes also.
You mean demand for to be treated on distance?
Yes.
Yeah. I already received a request for that.
See, so that's coming down the road. I cannot tell you at this stage exactly when that is. I can only say approximately second half of 2019, somewhere, maybe in the summer, somewhere there, it will come out.
Nice.
This is exciting.
Yeah, it is.
And it's not stopping there. I'm sure there will be more applications coming as to how to use sacred crystal sound for this and for that, and it's just it's an organic growth. And the growth means the re-emergence of this knowledge is just coming as the demand comes.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I'm excited.
Alrighty, very good.
Okay, so I would like to thank you, Patrick, very much for your time and for explaining what the add-on modules are. And I'm very excited to look forward to what's going to happen in the near future and far future, and what else will be coming up.
Yes, I think it is a beautiful ride, you can say, of discovery. And for those who receive the treatment, it's a beautiful ride too. We have already received feedback from people who have taken a treatment, who have received the treatment, and then they have gone to another practitioner and said, oh my God, this is so different from another practitioner. And the effects, like, wow. So it's all the discovery. It's all in discovery.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So it's nice that this is coming up and people can benefit from it. Beautiful. And if there are more questions, we can do another video. We can set up one and just handle all these other questions. It's beautiful.
Yes.
It develops into a nice series.
Yeah, I never knew we would be doing interview number 3.
Me neither. So it's beautiful. It's coming organically up. It's beautiful.
Yeah, nice, very nice. Oh, thank you so much for your time. And I would like, well, we both would like to thank you, listeners, for watching this interview. And if you feel that your soul is calling for this method, and you really would like to be involved in learning this method and to change consciousness, please reach out to Patrick, and he will then give you the necessary lessons. And I will also leave your website behind underneath the video, so people can look for you there.
Very good. And of course, if those people who are interested to receive this sacred crystal sound treatment, just to experiment and see how it goes, and if they happen to be wherever you are in this case, Zurich area,
Zurich, Switzerland, please.
And if you travel, just let the people know so they can benefit from your treatment. Treatment. Beautiful sounds. Very good.
Thank you.
All right. Then. Beautiful. So thank you again. And then let's see what comes next.
Yes.
All the best.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.